Before the selection for the imperial consort, my sister incapacitated a maid and eloped with her lover. I, however, feigned ignorance. In my previous life, I attempted to thwart her plans, only to incur her lasting resentment. Once she gained favor, the first decree she issued was to summon me to the palace, where I was subjected to relentless torment until my demise. "It is all your fault that I am trapped in this desolate palace for eternity," she would scream. "Had it not been for you, I could have soared away with Mo Lang, embracing the freedom I so desire." "May you perish," I gasped, barely clinging to life. As I beheld her adorned with jewels, her face twisted with madness as she brandished a fire starter, flames erupted skyward, engulfing me entirely. A surge of hatred welled within me. "Sister, did you not yearn for liberation? In this life, I shall grant you your wish." Alas, the young lady has gone missing. The faces of my parents turned ashen with worry. With the selection ceremony approaching, the talented maiden has vanished without a trace. How will the emperor regard the Chung family if word gets out? "Have you not found her yet?" A servant shook his head. "Every corner of the estate has been searched, yet she remains elusive." My parents, consumed by anxiety, turned their gaze towards me in desperation. I was not surprised. After all, I was the only eligible female in the Chung household at this time. "Good child." My mother wept as she grasped my hand, praising my understanding. On the day of my entry into the palace, there was still no news of Chung Ruoyu. I sat quietly at the vanity as Jilan busied herself with my grooming. Memories of my past life flooded my mind, Chung Ruoyu's cruel words during our encounters. As I adjusted the timeline in my thoughts, a cold smirk crept upon my lips. By now, she was likely en route to Liangzhou. The vast desert winds and the setting sun over the long river indeed offered her a semblance of freedom. The carriage rattled as it rolled through the palace gates. I lifted my gaze to the crimson walls and emerald tiles around me. In my previous life, Chung Ruoyu had loathed me for ensnaring her in the depths of the imperial palace, burning me alive in her fury. This time, I would wield the knife, resolute in refusing to be the sacrificial lamb. 3 years later, I successfully bore a delightful little princess, the first child of Xiao Linyuan. Despite being a daughter, he could not contain his joy and exceptionally conferred upon me the title of noble consort, granting permission for my mother to visit me in the palace. When my mother arrived, she brought unexpected news. "Your sister has returned." I paused, setting down my teacup, and instructed the palace maids to leave the room. My mother, with a face clouded by sorrow, recounted the events. It turned out that shortly after eloping, their funds had quickly been depleted. The man, self-proclaimed as a charming scholar, was, in truth, utterly devoid of talent, unable to earn a single coin. In desperation, Chung Ruoyu resorted to selling her embroidery to sustain them. Eventually, their situation became untenable, leading them to shamefully return to the Chung estate in search of aid. My parents were utterly unprepared for the shock of their long-lost daughter returning after 3 years, especially with Chung Ruoyu's so-called lover in tow. He entered the house, assuming the role of son-in-law, demanding my father procure him a government position. My father, infuriated, was so overcome that he spat blood. "That scoundrel, merely a commoner, has been dealt with by my father's orders." That, however, is a trivial matter. The real concern lies with Ruoyu. My mother, clutching her handkerchief, was at her wit's end. Such a scandal, though they had initially suppressed it, could not remain hidden forever. Should the truth emerge, the Chung family would be utterly shamed in the capital. My father contemplated striking her down, wishing she had never been born. Yet, I had considered that Chung Ruoyu would undoubtedly suffer after her elopement. Now, it appeared that her circumstances were even worse than I had imagined. I felt a sense of schadenfreude wash over me as I leisurely sipped my tea. Such a tarnishing of family honor was somewhat understandable for my father. But she was still my child. "My dear," my mother implored, her face etched with concern, "you have always been so wise. Could you not consider helping her, just this once, for the sake of sisterhood?"
"What jest?"
I would be remiss to further her plight. Just as I was about to refuse, a thought struck me. In that case, let us bring my sister here instead. Remaining at the Chung estate is not a viable option for her in her current state. Should she find someone to marry, if the truth were to surface, that union may turn into enmity, which would be undesirable. I propose we bring her here to serve as a palace maid, a stable position, if nothing else. My mother hesitated, but Royu is so proud. She may refuse such an arrangement. I scoffed. Does she still possess the audacity to be proud? I reminded my mother. She has no choice now. Enter the palace or face my father's wrath. Those are her only two options. My mother recognized the truth in my words. This was indeed the most fitting arrangement. She is clumsy, and once in the palace, I will need to ensure she is well looked after. I smiled and nodded, reassuring my mother that I would take good care of my sister. The following morning, my mother hastily escorted her into the palace. I observed Chung Royu following the matron. Her eyes filled with envy. Once the esteemed daughter of the Chung family, with skin like cream and a rosy complexion, she now appeared pale, gaunt, and even slightly hunched. Your Highness, she has arrived, I said with feigned interest, circling around the kneeling Chung Royu.
Sie?
My parents had naturally refused to allow the Chung family's legitimate daughter to serve as a mere maid, concocting a fabricated identity for Chung Royu. Externally, they explained that they were concerned for my well-being after childbirth, sending her to assist me. Chung Royu's expression stiffened. The sister she once looked down upon had now ascended to a position of power, while she had been reduced to that of a lowly servant. How could she possibly accept this role? Seeing her silence, the matron quickly admonished her. Your Highness has called for you. Jiyu pays her respects to the noble consort. Chung Royu uttered, prostrating herself on the ground. I chuckled lightly. Logically, since my parents sent you here, I should arrange a better position for you. However, this palace does not require additional attendance, so you shall start as a menial maid. What? Chung Royu's head shot up. The position of a menial maid was the lowest rank, tasked with all the dirtiest and heaviest chores. My parents instructed you to care for me. How dare you treat me this way?
Impudent.
How dare you show disrespect to Her Highness? The matron who brought her in was instantly pale with fright. The palace's rules were strict. Any defiance against a superior would lead to dire consequences for all. Nevertheless, I chose not to hold her accountable for this moment and merely instructed that she be taken away. What joy is there in a swift punishment? The true delight lies in tormenting one slowly, driving them to the brink of despair. Chung Royu, you must remain resilient, I mused. That night, Chung Royu was busy sweeping the courtyard when she happened upon Xiao Linyuan from Cheonghua Palace. Clad in dark attire, he strode purposefully into his quarters. Chung Royu stood there, momentarily entranced. Why do you linger? Hurry and get to work.
Who was that just now?
She asked, curiosity piqued. That was none other than our current emperor. A fellow maid replied while sizing Chung Royu up with disdain. Why do you care? Do you think you can climb the ranks by associating with him? Chung Royu felt a wave of dizziness wash over her. The emperor was indeed remarkably handsome and imposing. She suppressed her excitement, casting a friendly smile at the maid. Dear sister, you have worked hard. Allow me to finish the rest. You may return to rest. Once alone in the courtyard, Chung Royu surveyed her surroundings and stealthily crept to a patch of weeds behind the sleeping quarters. Zhao Zhao seems to have gained some weight. I leaned against Xiao Linyuan's shoulder, playfully teasing Zhao Zhao with a small rattle. Children grow and change so quickly. Zhao Zhao smiled. Xiao Linyuan watched us, with a flicker of amusement in his eyes. The child, easily fatigued, began to yawn after a short while. The wet nurse arrived to take Zhao Zhao away. Suddenly, a gust of wind swept through, causing the bamboo by the window to rustle incessantly. I turned my gaze toward the sound, my eyes flashing momentarily. The wind had picked up. Xiao Linyuan wrapped his arm around my waist, replying, Indeed, the night winds are strong. My beloved, you should retire early. In the dark corner, Chung Royu caught a fleeting glimpse of the two of us, intimately retreating into the inner chambers. Yet, that single sight was enough to ignite a frenzy of jealousy within her. If she had not eloped, would she not be the one basking in the emperor's affection? As that thought crossed her mind, she felt as though her heart were being torn apart. Chung Royu's days in Cheonghua Palace were far from pleasant. Under my directive, she was perpetually assigned the most laborious and exhausting tasks. Coupled with her foul temperament, she had managed to offend quite a number of people upon her arrival. Thus, her circumstances were exceedingly difficult. Jillian mentioned that Chung Royu returned to her quarters only at the hour of the tiger last night, yet was summoned at the hour of the rabbit this morning. My lady, have I perhaps been too harsh on Jiyu? Jillian has been my devoted maid since childhood and is naturally aware of Chung Ruiyu's status. I gazed at Jillian in silence and softly inquired, "Is it excessive?" In my previous life, Chung Ruiyu had done far worse to me. During the day, she forced me to be her human prop, holding flowers for her as she basked in the sun by the window. At night, when the Emperor did not seek her out, she would summon me to keep her company. She would place a basin of cold water by the bedside, and if she found me asleep in the middle of the night, the entire basin would be poured over me. During those times, I often hoped the Emperor would visit her more frequently, for then she would worry that I might catch his eye and refrain from tormenting me. Unfortunately, she was not favored, and over a year, the Emperor had only visited her 5 or 6 times. As I recalled the myriad of grievances from my past life, a wave of unquenchable resentment surged within me. Were it not for my aversion to witnessing Chung Ruiyu's repugnant demeanor, and the fact that Zhao Zhao had just been born, I wished to accumulate some fortune for her. I would never have allowed her to escape so lightly.
Jillian,
Frightened by the coldness in my gaze, knelt and pleaded for mercy. No matter how benevolent a master may be, they are still a master. One should never overstep their bounds. It was the servant who had overstepped. "Please forgive me, my lady." I took a deep breath and commanded an increase in Jiyu's workload. Tasks such as fetching water, moving objects, and carrying refuse were all to be assigned to her. Go die, go die, go die. It was I who should be the Emperor's woman. I am the exalted consort.
Chung Ruiyu.
You have robbed me of everything and brought me to this wretched state. May you not find peace in death. Chung Ruiyu had just finished cleaning the chamber pot and felt utterly revolted by the foul stench clinging to her. She dared not act recklessly in Chonghua Palace and could only vent her frustrations in this secluded grotto. Little did she expect to encounter someone today. How audacious. How dare you utter filthy words within the palace? Chung Ruiyu was so startled that her soul nearly fled her body. She hurriedly turned, only to find a woman adorned in fine silk, her hairpin shimmering brilliantly before her. Lu Pin, upon hearing Chung Ruiyu's curse, became increasingly intrigued. You just mentioned that the noble consort has taken something from you. What does that mean? Chung Ruiyu had scarcely knelt when Lu Pin kindly helped her up. Fear not. If you have any grievances, just share them with me. I solemnly assure you, I shall stand up for you. Chung Ruiyu's eyes darted around, and suddenly tears streamed down her face. My lady, I implore you to save me. That day, Jillian entered with a furrowed brow and whispered in my ear, My lady, rumors are rampant in the palace, claiming that you would go so far as to harm your own legitimate sister to gain entry into the palace. How utterly shameless and malicious. What shall we do? Upon hearing this, I immediately suspected Chung Ruiyu was behind it. I sent someone to summon Jiyu. Jitong received the order and went out, returning shortly after. My lady, forgive me, I could not find Jiyu in Chonghua Hall.
How could that be?
Jillian exclaimed in surprise. How could such a large person suddenly vanish? It seems someone has acted before me. I let out a cold laugh. It appears I have grown complacent in my tranquil life, allowing my vigilance to wane, and thus fell into another's trap. Chung Ruiyu, I underestimated you. At that moment, the head stewardess beside the Empress, Su Zhu, came to deliver a message. Noble consort, the Empress requests your presence in Kuan-Ning Palace. In Kuan-Ning Palace, the Empress sat at the head seat, and the other concubines had already gathered. As I approached, they all gazed at me with peculiar expressions. I greeted the Empress, and she replied, Rise. After a few coughs, she gestured for me to take a seat. Noticing the Empress's pale complexion, I expressed my concern. Empress, has your health improved recently? Before the Empress could respond, Lu Pin stepped forward to accuse me. How insincere. Were it not for your malicious deeds, we would not have troubled the Empress today. The Empress looked taken aback, but said nothing. I turned to Lu Pin, smiling calmly and composedly. Not a trace of panic or fear surfaced at the revelation of my misdeeds.
Oh, pray,
enlighten me as to what heinous act I have committed that warrants such wrath. Still unwilling to admit it, Lu Pin spoke with eloquence, detailing my various transgressions with remarkable clarity, from mistreating the servants to maliciously scheming against my legitimate sister. She even went so far as to accuse me of using seduction to vie for the Emperor's favor. I could not help but admire her eloquence. If she were to become a storyteller, she would surely eclipse all others in the field. That's enough. The Empress groaned, massaging her temples. Noble consort, do you have anything to say in your defense? Certainly. I gathered my thoughts. You claim I mistreat the servants, disrespect the Empress, and act with arrogance. Justice resides in the hearts of the people. The Empress, I am sure, has her own judgments. I shall refrain from elaborating further. The Empress nodded, signaling me to continue. As for the so-called enchantment of the Emperor's heart, the Emperor is wise and formidable. How could I easily beguile him? I could not resist glancing at Lupin and chuckling softly. Lupin, you cannot simply assume that because the Emperor has not visited you, I must be at fault. Do you perhaps envy my favored status? You. Lupin was infuriated. Had her glare the power to kill, I would surely be 1,000 pieces by now. Ultimately, it came down to the accusation of harming my legitimate sister and tampering with the selection process. This is what you truly wish to address, isn't it? Lupin glared at me fiercely. Does the noble consort admit to this? What does this consort admit to? I could not be bothered to waste further words with her. I will ask you this. Do you have evidence? Lupin's countenance shifted to one of confidence. Of course. After Qingruoyu entered, she trembled in fear, pointing at me and pleading for her life. Fear not, Lupin reassured her. The Empress is here, and all our sisters are present. She would not dare harm you. Qingruoyu, now trembling, raised her head and began to recount how I had wronged her. How she was left destitute, and how I had bullied and mistreated her after entering the palace.
Fool.
I watched her with cool detachment as she spewed venomous words that could have cost me my life. I am the only one from the Qing family to enter the palace, and now I stand as the noble consort, one step below the Empress, above all others. What benefit would it serve to drag me down? Yet it is also true. Had she cared for her family's honor, she would not have eloped in the first place. Noble consort, I am your own sister. No matter how much you despise me, you should not harm me to this extent. Woe is me.
Lupin.
Righteous and furious, exclaimed, Empress, this woman is exceedingly malicious and has deceived the Emperor. I implore you to punish her severely. The other concubines exchanged glances, some even appearing eager to join the fray. After all, if one noble consort were to fall, their chances of rising would only increase. I urged the Empress to impose a heavy punishment. In an instant, a multitude knelt in Kuan-Ning Palace, leaving only the Empress and me seated. What is the meaning of this? The Empress's face bore no emotion. Are you compelling me to deal with a noble consort right now? I dare not. Lupin raised her head, her eyes radiating righteous fury. She pointed emphatically at me. As long as this person remains, she will ultimately bring disaster. I see you as the true disaster. Xiaoling Yuan's expression darkened as he strode in. Everyone hurriedly bowed. He scanned the room, pausing for a moment on me before his gaze settled on Lupin. You were just saying you wished to deal with whom? My noble consort? It was clear to all that Xiaoling Yuan stood by my side. How brazen they had been moments ago. At this moment, they trembled uncontrollably like leaves in a storm. Your Majesty. The imperial consort Lu shivered as she recounted the events once more. Qingruoyu cast a sorrowful gaze at Xiaoling Yuan. Your Majesty, had it not been for Qingruoshua's interference, I should have rightfully been your consort. Xiaoling Yuan's face flushed with anger. How preposterous to directly utter the name of the favored consort. Strike her. After several harsh slaps, Qingruoyu's face swelled grotesquely. Your Majesty, Your Highness, I have something to say. I rose and bowed to Xiaoling Yuan and the Empress seated above. Xiaoling Yuan nodded. To you, my elder sister has been missing for 3 years. You claim to be her. Do you have any proof? Qingruoyu glared at me. I am the eldest daughter of the Qing family, Qingruoyu. I am not some Jillian. I let out a cold laugh. If you truly are my biological sister, having returned home after so long, how could our parents allow you to enter the palace as a servant? Qingruoyu stiffened suddenly. She wanted to assert that the truth could be clarified by summoning our parents to confront me. Yet, it dawned on her that if our parents were present, they would undoubtedly side with Qingruoshua, leaving her with no room for rebuttal. Moreover, have you not wed? Qingruoyu's head snapped up. I delivered my words lightly, yet with a heavy impact. You and your husband found yourselves in dire straits and sought refuge at the Qing residence. Unexpectedly, shortly after your arrival, your husband fell gravely ill and passed away. Do you not recall? This was the fabricated background our parents had arranged for you. Chung Royu was momentarily dumbfounded. She looked at me with the eyes of a defeated adversary. Suddenly, she broke into a raucous laugh. Seizing the opportunity while everyone was taken aback, she lunged at me.
Chen Ruoxu, di.
Xiao Linyuan, quick as lightning, pulled me aside. Chung Royu collided with empty air, her head striking the chair, rendering her unconscious. Xiao Linyuan, filled with disdain, ordered her to be dragged away for execution. Your Majesty, I called out to him. After all, she was sent by our parents. I wish to handle this myself. Xiao Linyuan, with no objections, nodded in agreement. Proclaim, Lu has behaved inappropriately and falsely accused the favored consort. Effective immediately, she is to be demoted to a mere attendant. The remaining consorts are to reflect in solitude for 3 months. Without summons, they are forbidden to leave their quarters. With that, the matter reached a conclusion. Xiao Linyuan instructed us to return to our respective palaces, as he would accompany the Empress for dinner. Your Majesty, I fear I cannot keep you this time. The Empress smiled, expressing her desire to converse with the favored consort for a while. In Jingren Palace, Aunt Suju brought forth a bowl of dark, viscous medicinal concoction. Even from across the table, the bitter scent was unbearable. Yet the Empress's expression remained composed as she drank it all in one go. What is it that you seek from me, Your Highness? The Empress, after pinching a piece of candied fruit, finally relaxed her tightly furrowed brow. She gazed at me intently. Suddenly, she reached out and touched my face. I was momentarily taken aback. Your Highness, your complexion is rosy, and your eyes sparkle like the morning stars. You are quite delightful indeed. The Empress smiled, yet sighed softly. I have never possessed such vitality. Since birth, the Empress has been frail and ailing, reliant on medicine throughout her life. Observing her weak and haggard appearance, I found myself at a loss for words. Your Highness is blessed with profound fortune. If you adhere to medical advice and take good care of yourself, you will gradually recover. The Empress waved her hand dismissively. My body is uncooperative. Despite being the Empress, I cannot bear a child. Fortunately, His Majesty is a man of sentiment, having never discarded me, and has afforded me ample dignity. You, favored consort, are different. I seem to grasp the underlying message the Empress wished to convey. However, such matters, though permissible for her to discuss, I could not mention of my own accord. All the consorts in the palace yearn for the Emperor's favor and the accompanying honor. Yet who among them can truly realize their desires? The Empress's eyes reflected the warm sunlight from outside, her pupils shimmering with tiny glimmers of light. Yet her skin appeared pale, nearly translucent. She gazed at me. Given that there will inevitably be favored consorts in the palace, I hope that person will be you. I also hope that one day, you will occupy this position. This was an unmistakably direct implication. My eyelashes quivered.
Why?
I hardly had any rapport with the Empress, and we seldom met privately. I truly could not fathom why she placed such significance upon me. Because you are the only one in the harem who brings me peace. You do not stir trouble, and do not constantly appear before me as an eyesore. Is that even a reason? In truth, I simply prefer not to venture out. From now on, you shall come to my quarters daily at the hour of the rooster, and I will instruct you on palace matters.
I was taken aback.
How could I dare, Your Highness? The Empress raised her hand, interrupting my words. Suddenly, she doubled over, coughing incessantly. Your Highness. Aunt Suju hurriedly approached to help her breathe easier. It took a while for her to gradually calm down. Enough, no more chatter. If I summoned you, you are to come. I hesitated repeatedly, but ultimately performed a deep bow to the Empress. I shall not disappoint Your Highness's earnest intentions. Upon returning to Cheonghua Palace, Xiao Linyuan had already been waiting for me in the chamber. He dismissed the attendants and, with a stern expression, queried me. What on earth happened? I smiled sweetly and embraced him. Did Your Majesty not ascertain the truth? I was framed by others, yet thankfully, Your Majesty's brilliance and valor rescued me from peril. Xiao Linyuan tugged at my cheek. Are you still jesting?
Oh.
After some playful banter, I discerned that he truly bore no resentment. Carefully, I embellished the account before sharing it with him, omitting the details of my rebirth, which were not to be divulged. In truth, I know that my sister has never favored me. I simply did not anticipate that this time she would seek to drive me to my death. Tears welled up unexpectedly, large droplets cascading down my cheeks and landing in Xiao Linyuan's hands. Xiao Linyuan, filled with compassion for my plight, immediately contemplated tossing Cheng Ruoyu into the Department of Justice. I shook my head. The night is long and dreams are numerous. I planned to send her on her way directly. You are simply too soft-hearted, I retorted defiantly. I have not been soft-hearted at all. After enduring relentless struggles to ascend the throne, Xiao Linyuan found himself at a loss for words, caught between speaking and remaining silent. He felt that my actions were akin to child's play. He sighed deeply, recognizing that while I was a favored consort with many admirable qualities, I possessed an excess of unnecessary compassion. Your Majesty, when did you become aware of my true identity? Xiao Linyuan cast a sidelong glance at me. 3 years ago. After her first night of service, he dispatched someone to investigate her thoroughly. His tone carried a hint of disdain. Only your father still believes himself clever enough to deceive me for so long. I silently admired his astuteness. His Majesty had indeed perceived my discrepancies back then. Truly, he is sharp and wise. Suddenly, Xiao Linyuan fixed his unwavering gaze upon me. He remained silent, merely smiling enigmatically. Since Cheng Ruoyu's scheme had faltered, she had been confined in the woodshed. When I sought her out, I found her bound to a chair, appearing haggard, her clothing tattered, and her hair disheveled like a madwoman. Upon seeing me enter, she grinned at me ominously. You have been reborn, haven't you? My eyes flickered slightly. You all may withdraw, and close the door. Jillian was quite uneasy. She resembled a lunatic. What if she harmed the consort? I cast a disdainful glance at Cheng Ruoyu. Fear not. What harm could a useless person inflict upon me? Cheng Ruoyu's eyes burned with fury, as if she wished to tear me apart. The door closed, plunging the room into darkness. You are quite pleased with yourself, aren't you? Cheng Ruoyu's face was grim. In the shadows, she resembled an unholy specter. I approached her, halting precisely at the threshold between light and dark. Indeed, I admitted it outright. Look at yourself, humble, pitiful, facing impending doom. Meanwhile, I am now the most favored and illustrious consort in the Forbidden City. What is there for me not to take pride in? Cheng Ruoyu's eyes were awash with a deep crimson hue as she struggled incessantly to reach me. Her hands and feet were firmly bound by coarse hemp ropes, and with every futile attempt to break free, the marks of red deepened upon her skin. Ultimately, she could do naught but collapse weakly against the back of her chair. Cheng Ruoxiue, do you understand the depths of my hatred for you? In truth, I did not comprehend. Though Cheng Ruoyu and I shared the same mother, we were as if born as natural enemies. This enmity persisted through our past lives, and this one as well. I prided myself on having never provoked her, yet she had always regarded me as a thorn in her side. Beneath my indifferent gaze, Cheng Ruoyu's hoarse voice gradually emerged. In my youth, I was vivacious and astute, cherished by all. Yet, as time passed, you blossomed, surpassing me in both beauty and intellect. Everyone proclaimed that I fell short of your brilliance. Even our mother lamented that I was far too impulsive, lacking your serene and composed demeanor. Cheng Ruoyu's recollection of others' comparisons and sighs caused her to grit her teeth in resentment, followed by an uncontrollable fit of laughter. How absurd that you, so dull and pedantic, would withdraw from society merely because I remarked that you were too conspicuous. Ultimately, the title of the Cheng family's daughter fell solely upon me. I remained silent. I understood her sentiments from back then. I merely preferred to avoid socializing and thus acquiesced to the situation. However, that did not imply my foolishness. Was it truly for these trifles? Indeed, when one is left speechless, laughter often ensues. But could such ethereal grievances warrant such profound animosity? You know nothing. Cheng Ruoyu shrieked. I have been trampled beneath your feet at every turn. How can I possibly accept this? Had you not reincarnated before me, how could I have suffered so grievously because of you? Cheng Ruoyu's words were laden with sorrow, yet I felt no stir within myself. In our past life, she had often accused me of causing her demise, of separating her from her beloved, of robbing her of freedom, of subjecting her to neglect, and of allowing her to be bullied by other consorts. But was it truly my fault? The matters I had not had the chance to ponder in my previous life were now clear in this one. She merely transformed her own inadequacies into resentment directed at me. A scornful laugh escaped my lips, piercing her heart. Everything you endure stems solely from your own ineptitude. A fool remains a fool, no matter how many times they are reborn. I could no longer be bothered to engage with her. Clapping my hands, Jilan entered with a jug of wine. Chung Ruoyu sensed something amiss. Her face turned pale, and she trembled uncontrollably. No, no.
Chung Ruoyu.
You cannot. Why can't I? I retorted. She burned me alive. Do you truly believe I would grant her mercy? This was the heart-eating wine from the western regions. Once consumed, it felt as though 1,000 arrows pierced the heart, followed by a torment that would culminate in death after 2 long hours. Enjoy it well. No. Get away. Don't come any closer.
Ah.
Behind me echoed her desperate wails, reminiscent of a banshee. Before me lay the blazing sun, its warmth bathing the surroundings. How strange it was. Though I had avenged my great grievance, I felt little exhilaration. My mind drifted momentarily, and I suddenly recalled a distant memory, Chung Ruoyu holding my hand and placing a sugared plum in my mouth. Yet, beyond that, all else faded into oblivion. Perhaps the passage of 2 lifetimes had dulled my recollection, or perhaps those memories had simply vanished. I sighed almost inaudibly. I had intended to discard her like fodder for dogs, yet I reconsidered. Perhaps it was better to find a proper resting place for her. When our mother learned of Chung Ruoyu's demise, she rushed to confront me in a fit of rage. You promised to take care of her. Is this how you do it? She is your sister. How could you? I recounted Chung Ruoyu's deeds to our mother. Impossible, she gasped, staggering back in disbelief. I smoothed the creases of my garment, my tone as light as if discussing the weather. My sister Chung Ruoyu passed away many years ago. The one who has died now is merely a deranged servant, rebelling against her place. Our mother met my indifferent gaze, her expression suddenly freezing, rendered speechless. I watched as she departed, lost in despair, returned to the palace. 5 years later, I bore a son and was bestowed the title of imperial noble consort. The following year, after the queen's untimely death, I ascended to the position of empress. Years later, upon the emperor's passing, I became the empress dowager. Standing atop the city walls, I gazed upon the resplendent palace, suddenly reflecting on my 2 lifetimes. All that was lost in my past life was returned in even more splendid forms in this one. The sunlight danced upon the glazed tiles. I gently closed my eyes, allowing the cool breeze to tousle my hair. Having traversed 2 lifetimes, I had finally attained fulfillment.
The end.
Thank you for listening, and I look forward to our next story.